This sounds a bit rude to say, but some of the least surprising news this week will have been Ronald Koeman getting the sack from Barcelona following their uninspired loss to Rayo Vallecano. Hey, I'm Adrian, by the way, and I had another video lined up for today, which is actually all the more interesting now considering it was a manager profile. But we'll shelf that for now. Let's go over how Koeman has done for Barcelona, and I'll give my thoughts on the situation. On Wednesday, October 27th, Barcelona went to the Madrid neighborhood of Vallecas to take on the high-flying yet newly promoted Rayo Vallecano. Just for some context, Rayo Vallecano finished in 6th in Spain's second division last season, but managed to gain promotion to La Liga via the qualification playoffs, beating Leganés 5-1 on aggregate in the semi-finals, and then they turned around a 2-1 loss in the first leg of the playoff final to beat Girona 2-0 away to gain promotion. An incredible story, and an interesting transfer window followed actually, bringing in experienced La Liga players such as Sergi Guardiola and of course, Radamel Falcao to play under their young manager, only 39 years old, Andoni Iraola. It was Falcao who scored against Barcelona last night, grabbing the game winner and what would be the death blow to Ronald Koeman's term as manager with Barcelona. It was interesting because looking at Barcelona's lineup, with the likes of Coutinho getting a start and Aguero starting for the first time in a while, you thought maybe this would be the time that, they started to turn things around, or at least started to move in a better direction. But no, same problems for Barcelona occurred. Dest missing a chance from even closer than his miss against Real Madrid from the weekend. Aguero, he spurned the chances he had like every other Barcelona striker. Mind you, he only had 2 of them, so that speaks to the kind of service that he was getting. Mistakes in defense, mistakes in the attack. Take your pick from the Rolodex of deficiencies that this Barcelona side has suffered from recently, as they were all on display last night. So many opportunities and no goals to speak of. Honestly, watching Barcelona this season truly illustrates the point even further of how Messi was the difference in this team, as if we needed any further proof. It was plain to see while he was still with Barcelona. But now that he's gone, this is the kind of game where, he would offer the quality of finish they are severely lacking in order to bail them out. We've always mused, where would Barcelona be without Lionel Messi? Now we're seeing it right before our eyes. 9th in the table, 3rd in their Champions League group, 5 wins from 13 attempts. On a human level, I really do feel for Koeman. Taking over this job was a bit of a poison chalice. He inherited a club that is, in fact, broken at the moment. A club that isn't operating anywhere close to the level that it should be as a consequence of years of mismanagement from the very man that hired him, Bartomeu. I'm sorry, that's like saying Voldemort. Oh, sorry, he who must not be named around here. He came into the club with limited options as far as signings go, and he had the human safety net that is Lionel Messi taken away from him this summer, something that would have made things very difficult for any manager with this current Barcelona side. Add to the fact that his own president, Laporta, made no secret that he was pursuing other options, telling Koeman that he couldn't guarantee that he would keep him, that he was going to try to find somebody else, but if he couldn't find someone, then Koeman could stay. That's rough. And I talked about this in another video, but this doesn't really breed stability at a club. If the president is looking for someone else, then clearly he doesn't have belief in you as a manager. And what does that do for the players who, this isn't falling on deaf ears. They know you're a dead man walking, and subconsciously complacency will creep in. The motivation to impress someone who there's no guarantee he'll even have a job in a few days, weeks, or months, completely killed off. So I think it's reasonable, in some ways at least, to say that the conditions in which Koeman had to manage at FC Barcelona were not great. And I barely mentioned the wage cuts, the enforced shrinking of the salary through player sales, etc. But that said, he absolutely could have done a much better job. The chasing out of Luis Suarez will go down as one of the things that will be held against him, especially when you bring in a Sergio Aguero that has barely played in the last year. He was injured for much of last season. And then a Luuk de Jong that, and tactically, it was difficult to understand. Player selections were weird. He had a run of matches last season where the 3-4-3 was really bearing fruit, and Barcelona's defense was looking solid with added stability in their back line, helping them cope with one of their big weaknesses, the fullback position. But the form there didn't last long, and with the club wanting him to play a 4-3-3 this season, the poor results poured in. When you look at his managerial record with the club, he has been pretty bad. This season, he managed to win 5 matches, as mentioned before. Looking at the table, they are currently only 6 points off at the top. But the embarrassments in the Champions League and losing at home against Bayern in the fashion that they did, and 3-0 away to Benfica, those don't do him any favors. Across all competitions this season, they've won just 38% of their matches, just over a third of them, averaging 1.38 points per game so far. That's not spectacular, and to illustrate further just how much of an impact the loss of Messi has been, as well as the other changes to the squad, when looking at his first and second season with Barcelona, Koeman's points per game average goes up to 1.96 when you factor in the one Messi season as well. That is a massive difference. But how does that compare to the managers that came before him? Ernesto Valverde had an average points per game of 2.23. He also had a better squad, if we're being balanced here at least. Quique Setien, 2.08 from just 25 matches, not spectacular. Luis Enrique, 2.41, again a much better squad. We're talking about MSN at the time that Enrique was manager. And Guardiola, I mean, is it even worth it bringing him up? Of course he was good. He had one of the greatest sides of all time as well. But yeah, 2.36 points per game. From Valverde onward, it just got worse and worse. So Koeman ranks the lowest, but you could also argue that he had the worst squad. While his team was weakened, some of the teams around him in La Liga were weakened as well. Zinedine Zidane had one of the most ludicrous injury crises in Europe last season, and he still managed to finish above Barcelona. That's the difference that coaching can make. Speaking of, we'll finish here by just addressing how Xavi has once again been heavily linked with a return to Barcelona. Now, bringing Xavi back to the club was on presidential candidate Victor Font's platform, while Laporta claimed that he would get Messi to stay with the club. But anyway, with the vacancy at Barcelona, Fabrizio Romano claims that Xavi, who has been coaching at Al Sadd for the last few seasons, is now very interested in coming back to Barcelona, and Laporta is very interested in bringing him back to Barcelona. Again, from Romano and other journalists in Spain, they claim that the process of seeing whether Xavi is even a possibility is just beginning, as negotiations with Al Sadd, I should actually say communications with Al Sadd, have only just begun. He's done quite well at Al Sadd, winning plenty of trophies and developing his style as a manager over the last 2 years that he has been in charge of the club. If you were to liken his approach to another manager, it would be similar to that of Guardiola's or Cruyff's, and then Guardiola's, depending how you want to look at it. And if his playing career is anything to go off of, if the comments of his teammates are anything to go off of, then he has been an on-pitch manager since the beginning, basically. In fact, back in 2019, Dani Alves said, quote, "Johan Cruyff was the greatest model, number 1, and Pep Guardiola was number 2. I think that Xavi will be in the same league. When he returns here as a coach, Xavi will be our number 3. Glowing words, and honestly, I wouldn't put it past him. I could explain his approach further, but it's best to just hear it from Xavi himself. He did a masterclass on the coach's voice on YouTube, so I've linked to that video below for anyone who is interested. It's in the sources section of the description. It's an incredible video. Xavi basically explaining his approach and everything. Do give it a watch. But yeah, that's all for this video, guys. I think, while it wasn't an easy job that he inherited, there was only one choice when it came to Koeman. It wasn't working for a multitude of reasons, both his fault and not his fault, and I think both parties will be relieved to see that relationship come to an end. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. My name is Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and we'll catch you later. Ciao.